What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode number 2 of the Spot Show podcast, a wrestling podcast that is not about wrestling. I am one of your hosts, Dickie Wabash, joined as always by the one-man boy band, Michael Madrox.
What's up, Dickie? How are you on this cold evening?
I mean, I'm doing good so far. Can't really complain too much.
Can you believe we made it to episode 2?
I can't believe we made it to episode 2, man.
This is crazy.
I mean, not to downplay it, but it's like, come to me on episode number 27 and be like, can you believe that we made it to episode number 27?
Well, the people listening don't really know our ADHD tendencies to go balls to the wall with something and then be like, oh, look, a squirrel, and go completely somewhere else.
I mean, don't we always, though? Yeah, it's a shocker from the aspect of it's like that we started doing this and we've already proven that we're going to stick with it. So, I mean, I think that stick-to-itiveness is a very
There's
important...
a first time for everything. I would have pictured us this time last episode making custom-made socks or something in a new venture.
Yeah. Hey, so I got this idea, right? And I think this is going to be a really good one for us. The Spot Show. Yeah, just, we're not going to do that anymore. Before we get a little bit too far into the podcast, I just want to let everyone know that this episode is brought to you by Elite Pro Wrestling, Sewer Layer Toys, and BurntBuds.com, but a little bit more about them later. Hi, Madrox.
Hi, Dickie again.
So, I wanted to get that out of the way before we got a little bit too sidetracked here.
Can I just throw it out there how creepy you looked when you said hi, Madrox, right there? Like, I know you have a basement, but I'm not going down there with you. And no, I don't have a fucking mannequin.
So this is so funny that you say that, because this is also a good way to kind of talk about the subject that we have today, where I was talking to Madrox because I'm single and I'm dating and everything. And I'm like, okay, so when do I bring up the fact that I collect toys? But the way I said it, because for those of you that don't know, I keep all my collectibles down in my basement, and I said it to Madrox. I was like, so when do I tell them about my basement? He just looked at me and he's like, maybe don't put it that way.
With the whole Dahmer craze going through the nation, is that still a thing right now? I mean, I've been seeing people get the tattoos and shit still.
Why would you? Okay, look, here's the thing, right? It's like, it's the weird hero worship. I think it's completely fine to be into serial killers and want to study them and want to read up on them, as Madrox's eyes just got really big because he does it. But that's fine. I don't judge people that do that. This is a judgment free zone for the most part. But the hero worship where people are like, oh, I want Dahmer to eat me. And just no, you don't. You want Evan Peters is who you're attracted to. You're not attracted to Jeffrey Dahmer. You're attracted to the portrayal of Jeffrey Dahmer by Evan Peters.
But, this episode is about collectibles. And speaking of serial killers, I do collect stuff from serial killers. I collect body parts as well. I mean... We're just throwing that out there.
Completely legal.
Completely legal.
It is completely legal. It's completely legal in our state. So, that is what it is. But no, it's one of those things of, it's like, how do I tell the future Mrs. Wabash, hey, so I have something in my basement. I need to show you. Follow me. How do you do it?
See, that's where the difference between me and you come in, because I for one do collect human stuff, and if I had a basement, which I don't, that's probably where I'd store it. So for me to invite someone to see my collection in my basement would be completely creepier than coming to yours, which is eventually going to be a Blockbuster video store.
Yeah, that's one thing that I plan on doing. I'm going to convert my basement into a Blockbuster. But then, a giant came to me and was like, hey, I want to start a podcast. And then now all my time and energy and effort has been going into this. Well, actually, technically, a giant came to me and said, hey, we should get back into wrestling, which, by the way, I want to apologize to the listeners. We did a terrible job of explaining exactly what got us back into the business last time. I feel like that's going to have to come back.
That'll have to be a future episode, though.
It's going to have to be a future episode, yeah.
If you guys want the whole story, you're going to have to stick around with us and keep waiting.
There is a story, my brother. There is a story. But anyway, yeah, that's been a project of mine for a while, is that, you know, I have all these toys and I have all these collectibles. I was like, and I collect VHS tapes. I was like, man, I'm always hunting for that next hit of nostalgia, basically. So I was like, what better way to be nostalgic than to build a Blockbuster in my basement / toy store, because I have toys and stuff down there.
Yeah.
But I think that's kind of the goal, is to do that. Will it happen? I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things that's always been on the back burner, but I mean, we'll see. You know, I have a studio to build, so I don't.
The studio is built, brother.
Yeah, there's literally still tools and stuff on the floor, and like
acoustics.
Yeah, no wire management here. We just kind of slapped this together last minute. We just are a disaster of a podcast, if you really think about it. But yeah, we're just doing it, you know. But hey, real quick before we do get going, you're hearing this on a Thursday, which is March 9th. The regularly scheduled day for the podcast. If you heard episode 1, you know that it was on a Monday, the 20th, and boy, oh boy, do we just want to say thank you to the people that made that possible, because for those of you that don't know, we put out a challenge on our Facebook page. We were like, hey, if we can get to 100 likes before Sunday, then we are going to post the podcast early, and we got to 100 likes. So those first 100, thank you very much. If you can find me at a show and prove to me that you were one of the first 100, you get a high five. So I think that's pretty. You get a high five.
I'll even sweeten the deal. Let's throw them an AEW trading card.
Ooh, a free AEW Upper Deck trading card.
Let's do it.
Base set, right?
Of course, base set.
It's got to be base set. We can't do any of the parallel sets.
Any of the parallels or the autos, boys, you guys better be ready to pay.
Yeah.
Podcasting ain't cheap.
It really isn't. It really isn't. It's not all it's cracked up to be, really. To be honest with you, I'm not having fun doing this at all.
You love hearing yourself talk, so I know that's a fucking lie there.
No, old Dickie loved to hear himself talk. Now, because the problem is, since we're such a small operation, I'm the one that has to do the editing and everything, and I hate watching my own stuff. I hate it. Like, when I was doing YouTube and all that, editing my YouTube videos and like cutting them down, I despised it. That was one thing I hated about Danville Dreamers, was my part. I don't like watching myself. I don't
like watching you either.
Thanks, buddy. I really appreciate that one. So, but yeah, we kind of touched on it a little bit here, but the topic of today's show is collecting.
Yeah.
You know, and when we say collecting, we don't mean just toys. You know, we
comics or cards, or you can collect anything. I know people that collect rocks.
I know people that collect human body parts.
Hey, yeah, it's a great market.
But just collecting. Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I don't think that there's really a limit to what can and can't be collected, because like you said, you can collect literally anything and you can just say, hey, this is my collection. But I think where it gets a little bit tricky is that
there's a thin line between collecting and hoarding.
There's a thin line. Well, yes, that's okay. That's not the direction I was going, but let's explore that. Yeah, I think there is a very fine line between collecting and hoarding, because I mean, you know, you watch these shows, Hoarders, and it's like, oh, they
collect everything.
This is my collector's plate that reminds me of the Louisiana Purchase. And it's like, what? No, you're just hoarding. But yeah, I think that it's just a matter of having. So, okay, this is the problem that I have with it, because I've always been a manic 0 to 60 type of guy. Like, I don't half-ass things. When I do them, I do it to it. So like when I started collecting as an adult, literally like 2 weeks later, I already had a shelf full.
There's nothing wrong with that, though.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying you got to understand a little bit of self-control when it comes to collecting, or it really is going to become a problem. And, you know, it's almost as if like it attracts people that definitely have an addictive personality, I think, because I have an addictive personality. I mean, that's just how I am as a person. That's why I'm straight edge, because I know how I am with things that I'm really into, so I can't do extracurricular activities or it would just ruin my life because I'm a psychopath.
You are a psychopath. But at the same time, like, my collecting is cool and all. Like, I collect with my son a lot in the action figure game. But other than that, I like making other people happy. Like, as you can tell, like, how many slabs have I surprised you with? I mean, just looking around this room right now, I see 6 different items that I didn't get for myself. I got for your collection because I knew you were into that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I think that that's kind of part of it too, is that you know, you want to build a good community. Not really community is not the right word, but a good camaraderie is the word that I meant to say there, with your fellow collectors, because they do things for you. Like, you know, all the things that I've bought for you or you've bought for me, or
it makes the hunt more exciting, especially when you're out on your own, being like, I might not like this, but I know a good friend that would.
Yes, because when that good friend happens to stumble upon something that they know that you want, and they message you and they're like, hey, I found this. Do you want me to pick this up for you? You can pay me back later. Do you want to trust that person that they're actually going to pay you back? And I know that we were just talking about you do it out of the goodness of your heart, but I mean, you can't do that every time. Obviously,
I do it for you every time.
I do it for you because we've built that rapport. But what I'm saying is that, you know, you get to a certain point where it's like, hey man, I'm at Walmart. They have the Walmart exclusive CM Punk. Do you need it for your collection? Okay, well, here it is. Because I've been burnt by people that I've been like, hey man, do you need this as a part of your collection? And they say, yeah. And I'm like, okay, I'll pick it up for you. You know, do you just be able to pay me back? Oh yeah, I will. And then they just never pay me back.
They ghost you for it. They
Exactly.
basically either get the item for free or they don't pay you and you're stuck with something you didn't want at all.
Exactly. So pretty much what we're saying here is that be good to your fellow collectors. But I feel like we got a little bit ahead of ourselves.
We did. We're just going with it.
Yeah, we're just kind of rolling with it. But so collecting,
let's break it down.
Yeah.
What are the things that you collect?
What do I collect? So many. My big one is AEW figures, which I know
welcome.
that's you. Yeah, I know you and I have that in common. I think that most people that are going to be listening to this, I mean, they're probably wrestling fans, so they can probably relate to the collecting of AEW figures. I collect graded comic book slabs, but like, I'm very specific on the ones that I collect. Like I went through a phase where I just wanted to get variant covers. Then now I'm kind of in a first appearance phase. Then I'm like, let's get key issues that I really enjoyed. Or because I will tell you, just like everything else, it's a slippery slope.
You're lucky I'm there to rein you in on some stuff. Like, we've had this conversation today. Yes. Where you were wanting to get a graded slab because you like the story. And I'm like, in my eyes, slabs are not about the story. They're about the cover art.
Yes and no. You know, just looking at my wall here, I have the death of Captain America from right after Civil War. And like, yeah, that's a dope cover.
Yeah.
It's a really good cover, but it's also a really good story.
That's true.
You know, and then you look at Venom, the Lethal Protector issue 1, both. You know, I think it's a good cover and it's a good story, obviously. But Really didn't go down the road that I was wanting to because I was trying to look on my wall and I was like, is there any up here that I just like for the story? No, they're all in the other room. So yeah, AEW figures, slabbed comics. I do AEW trading cards. I do VHS tapes. Kind of slowed down on that a little bit.
Goodwill ran out.
Goodwill ran out of good ones. I feel like if I continue to talk about what I collect, it's going to take me down a little bit of a rabbit hole, and you're not going to be able to talk about what you collect. So let's just hop into real quick what you collect.
I've been collecting since I was a little kid. Things change from time to time. Right now, my main focus is AEW, which I'm sure we could throw a picture up somewhere. Just show our collections off.
Yeah, we'll put it on the Facebook page.
I mean, I have almost every AEW figure.
Yeah, that's no joke. You
with
have
my son. Like we filled his whole bedroom walls, floor to ceiling, with AEW figures.
You have the best AEW collection I've ever seen.
Well, thank you for that. I mean, chases, exclusives, like everything, checklist, check marked. I like we said earlier, I also collect serial killer memorabilia.
Yeah.
I collect oddities and human body parts. And I'm lucky enough to have met Nico Clow. He is a convicted a murderer, alleged serial killer, but they couldn't prove anything else.
Always got to throw that allegedly out there.
Allegedly, but he's actually a great guy and owns his own store. I'm going to plug him right now for a cheap plug, serialpleasures.com. He does amazing artwork. He sells true crime memorabilia, and all in all, he's a great person to just chat to.
He'd be a cool one to try to get on here one day.
I'm going to get Nico on here.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
We need Nico.
Yeah, that'd be dope. Yeah, you and I, like, the Venn diagrams of what we collect definitely touch. And it's mostly just wrestling figures. But so then now that brings me to what I feel like is going to be the lion's share of this podcast. And that is, here's what I used to collect, and here's why I don't collect them anymore.
Because I told you not to.
Because you told me not to. So 3 big things that I used to collect that I do not collect anymore. And I feel like that these 3 things are going to be good examples of major issues with collecting. So the first thing that I stopped collecting, this was my first thing that I really collected as an adult was, I was unique. I was a very unique guy. No one else does it. I was collecting Funko Pops. Have you ever heard of them?
Yep, collected them myself.
How many did you get up to?
Over 1,000.
See, I was at like 500. I wasn't to 1,000, but I had so many.
It hit me, and it hit me hard.
Yeah. So before we go down that road, here's the other 2 things, because they all tie together. I used to collect WWE Elites. Don't do it anymore.
Never did it, thank God.
Yeah, and then I also used to collect Marvel Legends, Hasbro's. And I've stopped collecting them.
I know why.
Yeah, and don't get me started, because I think that the business practices of Hasbro are fucking stupid.
What do you mean? Don't you love not seeing the figure you're about to drop $40 on?
Yeah, okay, so which road do you want to go down? Do you want to go down the fact that they've fucking spiked the prices of their figures, or the fact that you don't even know what you're buying?
Both.
Yeah, because it ties in together. Here's what is so annoying. Here's what is so annoying about Marvel Legends. And I have a very sizable collection. I do. But I had to stop collecting because they started doing this stupid windowless packaging where it's supposed to be eco-friendly.
Because that one thin piece of plastic.
Oh, isn't it pretty fucking hysterical that when they do the retro Spider-Man cards, you got
that clamshell on the front,
you got
buddy.
clamshell on that. You got clamshell on all the other retro figures that you do. So don't sit here and tell me that you are doing it to better the environment. No, you're doing it allegedly to cut costs.
And mark up that same cost that
and
you're
then
cutting.
They turn around and they mark. Do you know one Spider-Man figure? Because before I was completely done, if you haven't figured it out by now, Spider-Man, my favorite superhero, I said, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop just buying them. I'm going to stick to just Spider-Man. And I'm still kind of in that area of just wanting to do Spider-Man. And there was literally, it was one figure. It was at a Target. It was the windowless packaging. $42. And I'm sorry, but it's not like the quality of the figure even went up. It's still the same. The quality of Marvel Legends from Hasbro are very hit and miss sometimes. Oh, yeah. So that's why it's a major issue, and that's why it's not collector friendly, because I'm an out-of-box collector with my Marvel Legends. So in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter to me because it's coming out of the box. However, my major issues are coming from that you raised the price of them, and I can't look at it to see what kind of quality figure I'm getting.
Or the simple fact that you can't see in the packaging now, who's going to prevent someone from buying that figure, taking it home and swapping it out for a different figure? You don't know. It's a gamble every time you buy something from Hasbro right now.
Well, not everything.
Not
you
everything.
got those those
got the
retros.
ones.
Yeah, you got, I mean, oh yeah, Hasbro, listen, here's the thing. I'm coming at you with this with love because
I'm not.
Well, it's one of those where
Hasbro, you done fucked up. You're dead to me.
It's like when your dad sits you down and says, I'm not mad at you. I'm just disappointed.
I'm very disappointed.
That's why
Hasbro.
I'm so disappointed because, again, let's be okay. Uncle Dickie is going to break it down here.
Hold on. Let me just paint a visual for our fans listening, okay? And by fans, I mean the three people. Dickie's head is so bright red right now with anger.
It's probably because I'm wearing a beanie right now.
It has nothing to do with the beanie.
We're in a very hot room and I'm wearing a beanie.
It has nothing to do with the beanie. Dickie's ticked about this, Hasbro. You have let him down that bad.
You made me lose my train of thought. Damn it. But it's probably
lessons with Uncle Dickie. It's
probably a good thing. Life lesson with Uncle Dickie. Oh, I remember now. Thank you. I would love to find a way, and I'm sure they have the way of doing this. What percentage of Hasbro Marvel Legends sales are children, and what percentage is collectors like us?
I guarantee the higher percentage is collectors like us.
It has to be. Has to be.
I mean, the children's toys, like the Play School versions and all that.
Yeah.
Like, they're flying off the shelves right now because you can see the characters. You can see the toys. Like, take notice, guys.
Exactly. And that's why I say that it's just like, you guys are not collector friendly. Like, you're basically telling a major part of your market, fuck off. And listen, here's the thing. I know that this is a conversation that has probably been done to death many, many months ago. This is a conversation started a year ago, but I apologize. We just started a podcast. What do you want from me? I wasn't podcasting a year ago. So
we were still making angry tweets though.
No, did I ever angry tweet about that? I don't think I did. No.
You had to at some point.
I try to keep the anger off of Twitter sometimes. Twitter's very toxic.
I don't even use Twitter anymore.
Yeah, I really don't either. I do every now and then. Like, I'll do it to promote this, obviously. But
it's your 12 followers.
I have a pretty decent number of followers.
Oh, yeah? 13?
Yeah, 13. Yeah, 14,
Damn.
15. So that's where toy collecting gets tricky because it's who's really buying this stuff. I'm going to tell you, I don't remember who told me this. You mentioned, or I did, WWE Elites. The way I look at it, Elites are for the collectors. The basics are for the kids.
Yeah, hands down. $10 compared to $20.
Absolutely.
Just to have something tore up and chewed on and stepped on and bashed together.
How much was a Jakks Pacific figure
When they first came out?
Yeah,
$2.99.
$2.99
for the Bone Crunchers. $2.99.
Okay, I should have been more specific.
You mean like the Titantron Lives?
Yeah, like Titantron Live.
$9.99.
$9.99. Okay. Yeah, I always forget Jakks Pacific was like all the way through the Bone Crushers up until like
right after Hasbro. Baby.
Yeah, Mattel took over. Now that brings me to a good little thing is that if you look at what Jazzwares and Mattel is doing, I think they have the collector in mind.
Jazzwares hands down.
Jazzwares absolutely does.
Like their basics are elites.
Yeah.
And their Supremes are phenomenal.
I have one Supreme, and it's the Walmart Cody.
Like the Malachi Black, greatest figure made.
Is it?
Far. Yes.
I don't think I've ever really looked at yours, so I don't really know. Yeah, I think that we got to get to a point with these toy companies where they're genuinely taking a look at where their sales are going, and they got to be, because again, if you're just, okay, then let's put it in this perspective. Say, for the sake of this conversation, that you're buying that Marvel Legend that is windowless for a child. As a parent, are you going to trust that you can't see the figure? Because how are you going to know what you're buying your kid?
I think nowadays parents are so like out of it with social media and on their phones and crap. They don't even pay attention. So
That's fair.
I don't see they have a problem with it, but at the same time, what parent's going to want to go in for a 5-year-old and drop $40 to $80 on a figure just for them to play with? Because let's be honest, kids play with something for a couple months and then it's forgotten about.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that when I was a kid. I definitely went through so many phases of like, oh, this is what I'm doing. But, that wrestling phase never went away. Never went away.
Always had that itch.
And then phases with in my adulthood with collecting have definitely waxed and waned. And we mention how Mattel and Jazzwares, like, I feel like they definitely have the collector in mind. There is one other company that definitely has the collector in mind, but at the same time, I have a very big problem with them. But we're going to touch on that here in just a minute after we hear a word from our sponsors. This episode of the Spot Show podcast is powered by Sewer Layer Toys, located at 3197 South 3rd Place in Terre Haute, Indiana. Guys, let me tell you one thing about Sewer Layer Toys, right? You're going to walk in, you're going to see a bunch of stuff that you want to buy, and you're going to be thinking to yourself, man, do I really want to buy this? Do I really need this stuff? Well, yeah, you do. You're going to walk in there, you're going to see a plethora, an endless amount of vintage toys, of retro toys, of modern toys, of that toy that maybe you had as a kid and you vaguely remember it. You're going to see it there, very fairly priced. Listen, I go in there and I love it. I get most of my collectibles there. Same goes for Madrox. We love these guys. Go in there, tell them the Spot Show podcast sent you, just so that I can prove to Scott that people are actually listening to us and that we are actually worth tying our name to them. I'm joking, of course. Listen, Scott and Andrew are two great guys. They run a really, really good store located in Terre Haute. Again, if you go to 3197 South 3rd Place, that is behind the mall in Terre Haute, Indiana. Go in there to Sewer Layer Toys. You are going to find some really, really good stuff. This episode of the Spot Show podcast is also brought to you by Elite Pro Wrestling. Listen, I'm going to tell you one thing about Elite Pro Wrestling right now, right? I'm going to get a little bit personal about it for a minute, right? Elite Pro Wrestling made me love pro wrestling again. They put on an incredible product. If you want to see what Elite Pro Wrestling has going on, you can go to facebook.com/EPW Elite. There you are going to find a list of upcoming shows. You're going to find videos from past shows. You are going to find everything that you need to know about Elite Pro Wrestling. If you are in the area of Odin, Indiana, or sometimes Washington, Indiana, then you are going to want to check out Elite Pro Wrestling. Some of the best pro wrestling in the state of Indiana, and I truly, truly mean that. So again, go to facebook.com/EPW Elite for everything that you need to know about Elite Pro Wrestling. This episode of the Spot Show podcast is also brought to you by BurntBuds.com. You can check out Burnt Buds for all your cannabis-inspired clothing, jewelry, and accessories, and guess what? You can know that you're doing good. Burnt Buds has non-binary sizing up to 4XL, and here's the best part of all, 1% of all Burnt Buds profit goes to charities such as the Last Prisoner Project and the Trevor Project. Cannabis not your thing? Well, I got good news for you. Burnt Buds also has a variety of humor, Rasta, and LGBTQ plus themed clothing and jewelry. But I'm going to sweeten the deal here a little bit for you. If you go on over to burntbuds.com and use our promo code SPOTSHOW10, you are going to get 10% off your entire purchase. Again, that is Spot Show, the number 10, for 10% off your purchase at burntbuds.com. That is BURNTBUDZ.com. You can also check them out on Facebook at Burnt Buds. Check them out on Instagram at Burnt_Buds. Or you can go to Gizmo's Galleria in Brownsburg, Indiana. Again, go to burntbuds.com, promo code SPOTSHOW10 for 10% off your entire purchase. All right, so Funko Pops, right?
Yep.
A fucking phenom in the collection space.
Oh, yeah.
You cannot find a single property that has not been licensed by Funko. And that is my biggest complaint with them and also my biggest attaboy for them.
They do everything.
Everything.
And they have so many different lines. It's like now they got like candy dispensers in the shape of a Funko Pop. Have you seen those yet?
I have.
Like, there's their sodas, there's their pops, there's Dorbs, there's Orbs, there's LMNOP with Funko. They're hitting everything. There's something for everyone. That's their slogan. And
yeah,
there legit is.
And that's such a good thing for collectors, but also a very bad thing for collectors. Okay, so let's just break it down like this. You're sitting here, you're wearing a Pennywise t-shirt. There are Pennywise Funko Pops out the ass. You have Batman tattooed on your right forearm. There are Batman Funko Pops out the ass.
Time out, Dickie. That's a birthmark.
Oh, is that? I'm sorry.
I'm Batman.
I never knew. I'm wearing a Dragon Ball Z hoodie. There are Dragon Ball Z Funko Pops out the ass. You are seeing my point here, is that there are so many. So where it became a problem with me is that I was like, yeah, I'm going to only collect things that I like. I'm not going to be one of these guys that I'm a Funko Pop collector. It's like, no,
You were going to collect your fandom.
I'm a Spider-Man collector, so I'm going to collect Spider-Man Funko Pops.
That's where the problem turns. Every month there's like 6 new Spidey Pops.
But not even just that. I got news for you. I'm going to break you in a little something. I'm a fan of a lot of shit.
Yeah. I think everyone is a fan of everything.
There's wrestling. There's horror. There's superheroes out the ass. There's just comic books in general.
90s cartoon series.
90s cartoon series. 2000s cartoon series. Movies. Books.
Games.
Restaurants
now. Even got
restaurants. Gas stations. You name it. Everything has a Funko Pop now.
And that's the problem with Funko, though. It's also, is it to the point where it's oversaturated?
100%.
I mean, you can't walk into a store and see no less than 200 Funko Pops.
No, absolutely.
It's getting out of hand. And like, I don't see how these completionists that have to have every Funko Pop ever made, how do you keep up when every other day, basically, there's a whole new series?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that something that I was starting to notice, I haven't collected Funko Pops in probably four or 5 years, probably, is when I really stopped buying them. I was personally, and this is just me being anal probably, I was kind of starting to notice a little bit of a decline in quality.
Yes, the mold started looking cheap. The paint job started smearing. About 4 years ago, this is when all this started happening.
Because you're just shucking them out.
Yeah.
Left and right.
Quality control went down.
Yeah. And there again, that's where I think Funko has been incredibly intelligent because, like I said a minute ago, I'm not a Funko Pop collector. I'm a Spider-Man collector. I'm a Dragon Ball Z collector. I'm a wrestling collector. So you have all of this. But again, to bring it back to what you said, they've shot themselves in the foot because there is so many that it's how do you keep track of the quality control of so many of these things?
You possibly can't.
You can't.
And everyone with Funko is so weird. Everything's got to be mint. Perfect paint job, perfect box, no smudges, no fingerprints. It's like, how do you guys have time to go through and nitpick and critique every little thing that comes out?
Well, and I think that yes and no. I think that that's another thing is that just like collecting in general, I think that this is a good summation of Funko collectors. There are those people that they do not want a single blemish on that box. They do not want any blemish on the pop itself. And then there are people who just don't give a fuck because it's going to be coming out of the box anyway. And then now it makes me kind of sound a little hypocritical because I'm talking about being an out-of-box collector and it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. It's coming out of the box, blah, 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 when I was talking about the Hasbro stuff. But there's a major difference between the Hasbro stuff and the Funko Pop stuff. Funko Pops are fucking so cheap.
Yeah.
They're so cheap. For the price of one Hasbro, you can get 3 or 4 Funko Pops.
Yeah.
So
you can get like 20 if you shop at FYE.
Oh, fuck yeah, you can. So for the sake of this conversation, basically, it's like, not that you should just roll over and accept that they're going to be a lesser quality, but it's kind of a you get what you pay for. But to bring it back to the Hasbro conversation, you're not getting what you pay for because the quality is still the exact same.
But wrapped in cardboard.
And with Funko, it's like, yeah, I understand why maybe that is a $10 or $12 or $15, depending on where you buy it figure, because it looks like, now don't get me wrong, there are some pop figures that don't even look like pop figures. Like they're just a thing.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that I want to touch on with the Funko Pops is that there used to be a uniformity with them, and now that's completely gone. Like
I'm okay with that though.
And I am
too. You could only
too.
reuse the same mold so many times before repainting it.
Yes, I agree. Fun fact, do you know why Star Wars is the only ones that are bobbleheads?
Star Wars are not the only ones that are bobbleheads. Marvel is also a bobblehead.
Well, I should say Marvel as well. And Disney. Sorry, yeah.
Star Wars are the only ones required to be on a base.
Yep. Yeah. Sorry. That's what I meant was the base, and then the Disney ones are the bobbleheads. It's all the licensing.
Yep. They're not allowed to sell figures.
They're not allowed to sell figures, but they can sell bobbleheads.
Yep.
They can sell bobbleheads.
Which is so weird, all the different licensings, like. And with Funko, another thing that bites them in the butt, like they could have an artist design this great product, but then they have to go through the different licensors to get the okay for the approval.
How does Funko make? I mean, granted, they're selling a lot. I get that. It's definitely quantity over quality, but you got to look at the licensing fees and shit. Like,
Funko's making money off those NFTs right now, buddy.
Oh my God. But someone much smarter than me is going to have to sit down and like explain the minutia of how it all breaks down.
You think Funko's crazy? Have you ever looked into designer toys?
No, because it's a slippery slope,
It's
just
a
like
very
everything
slippery
else.
slope. I mean, I got some Tiny Ghost, barely available. I'm really big into, which works through BIM Toy, which is the umbrella company for Tiny Ghost. But designer toys, you're talking about like every item is LE something, and people go big and go crazy on launch days for them.
I did dabble a little bit. Now that you mention it and I sit here and think about it, I did dabble a little bit in collector's toys. What's the brand that like releases like the Ronald McDonald figure, but he's like fat? Or they released the one I have, the Tony Tiger.
Oh crap! I know what you're talking about. I can't remember the name.
I have
right
the
now.
Tony the Tiger figure, but it's broken because my cat, whenever he was still alive, conveniently, right? My cat broke the Tony the Tiger, broke the tail off. But
so you're a sneakerhead. I thought you should know all about Bear Bricks.
no, I mean we're getting ready to get into sneakers. But yeah. So I did dip a little bit into designer like limited edition toys with that specific one. But no, like for the most part, like I'm not, just because something says limited edition, that doesn't mean that I'm going to immediately jump on it.
Some people do that stuff though. Like I buy stuff that I like.
Yeah, I mean,
like
I
Tiny
do too.
Ghost. It's a ghost. Like
Yeah,
I'm a horror guy,
and they look cool.
That fits, yeah.
And they
come
look
in, like,
really
all
cool.
kinds of different designs and stuff. Like, yeah, I got one that looks like a cheeseburger. Why? Because I'm a fat kid ghost hunter.
Now, one thing that I do, you want to talk about designer? I'm wearing a beanie right now. Huge Johnny Cupcakes fan.
Why?
I just love the design. I love Johnny Cupcakes, and it's all parody, and it's all like really cool limited edition designer shirts, and they're all really comfortable. Like when I went to Boston the first time I've only been once. I just want to go again is the point. When I went to Boston and I went to their store that's built to look like a bakery. This is the old location, not the new location. I want to go to the new location. I immediately fell in love with the product.
Oh, yeah.
And, their motto, they follow a lot of do more of what makes you happy is their, I think that's literally on the inside of this tag on this beanie. It says do more of what makes you happy. But I don't know. It's just a kind of a self-made, self-growth idea. Like that punk rock idea of like self-made, self-growth.
That mental concept.
Yeah. And so I have no problem dropping $35 to $40 per shirt. And I've got a closet full of shirts. And I've got mugs, I've got stickers, I've got a couple of hats that are flat bill. I don't wear flat bill hats anymore, so they kind of fell by the wayside, but that's beside the point. But it's that whole designer thing that is the same concept as these designer toys. It's just toys in general is not something that I've dabbled into, but I will with everything else.
But designer clothes like are coming out everywhere. Like Finn Balor owns his own designer clothing brand.
I have a shirt.
Like Supreme.
Now I will not get into Supreme.
Kith. What else? Antisocial Social Club. Like,
let me just say like Hype Beast stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not Hype Beast guy.
Sheesh.
Ugh.
I hate that crap, man.
I'm not a Hype Beast guy. I will wear something if I like it. And I like Johnny Cupcakes. And what's funny about it is that he parodies Hype Beasts sometimes, because Off-White, I mean, I have a couple pairs of Off-White shoes, don't get me wrong, but he made a shirt that was a parody of Off-White with the zip tie and all that stuff on it. But yeah, designer, and it's not even, I'm not going to say designer clothing. It's just more of the maybe designer, where it's just you're guaranteed that it's going to be a high quality shirt or hat or whatever. And
But I mean, at the same time, like, you're paying for a logo.
I mean, aren't you kind of always just paying for a logo though?
That's something I don't understand though, with like the whole, like, all these companies. Like,
I disagree with you actually, because I'm not doing it. Now, if it was Supreme, I feel like people do Supreme just for the logo.
yeah, absolutely.
But like Johnny Cupcakes, no, I just like the product. I like the brand. I love the shirts. You talked about Peak, Finn Balor's line. I have one of his shirts and I really like it. I think I have something else from there. I feel like I don't think I do though. I think I'm thinking of something else.
I thought you had a hat.
No, I don't have a hat because I only wear dad hats. They're the only ones that feel comfortable on my head. There's another thing, a weird thing that I collect is I collect minor league baseball team hats. And I have so many minor league baseball team hats.
How many minor league teams are there?
There's like a bunch. And what's funny about them is that they're like the most ridiculous, like the Montgomery Biscuits, the Toledo Mud Hens.
So basically the XFL.
Yeah, don't shit on the XFL.
I'm not
man.
shitting on the XFL, but those names and logos they just launched, like,
Man, call is the law. I am a Battlehawks fan till the day I die. You cut my veins, I bleed blue and silver. You understand what I'm saying? You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
I don't know what you mean.
I'm talking about it, man. Call is law. Caw. I'm trying to think of other minor league baseball team names that I have. The Tri-City Dust Devils, the Albuquerque Isotopes, the Hartford Whalers. I have so many that if I sat here and named them all, that it would waste time. But that's more of a, I wear hats. And a dad hat is comfortable. I'm not saying that I will only wear minor league baseball team hats, but I mean, I just like to wear dad hats. Dad hats are very comfortable.
I think you wear the minor leagues just for the giggle factor on the names.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that I don't.
You got any of our local hometown minor league baseball hats?
I haven't. What's the Indianapolis Indians? I have a hat of theirs. They're not hometown, but
they're not hometown.
They're home state.
We got those Rex boys now.
Yeah, we have the Terre Haute Rex. If I could find a dad hat in their style, I would absolutely
get
get
a
it.
Rex shop around here.
Maybe, I don't know. We're getting way too local.
Well, that's fun. This is where we live.
So yeah, when it comes to collecting, we touched on it a little bit at the beginning, but let's kind of bring it back. Have you ever looked at your stuff and been like, this is a problem?
All the time.
Good. I'm glad that you feel that way.
When you pull out a box and you're pulling out like action figures, comic books, look, there's a human arm bone. You're like, well, do I really need all this crap?
Well, that's problematic for another reason, but literally, Madrox, tell them what is on my living room floor right now.
Well, you moved a lot of the collectibles into our studio and then up on the shelves, but you did have that $600 Ric Flair the boy hooked you up with, chilling on your living room floor.
Just sitting on my living room floor.
I'm glad to see the Sandman autographed pictures not on your living room floor.
Yeah. Yeah, that one got a place of honor because I love Sandman, but I will definitely, that'll be another picture that we'll take. We'll take a picture of all the collectibles that I have on my floor and post it on the Facebook page.
I think at one time I added it up and you had like $3,000.
I had like $3,000 worth of collectibles on my floor.
Just chilling, his living room floor.
Just sitting on the floor, man. And then getting ready to be taken down to the basement and then not anything done with them. Dude, I have a tote full. And I know that you're not a Star Wars guy, but I'm trying to complete the episode 1 figures. And that's very doable. Because they're cheap because they mass produced them. Dude, I watched a video not too long ago about like the marketing for episode 1 and how they shot themselves in the foot because they just mass produced
everything.
So much. I mean, we're the same. We're the same age. I mean, I remember it vividly. You could not look anywhere without seeing an advertisement for episode 1. And a grail item of mine that I would really, really like to get, and it's honestly probably doable, is the Pepsi machine that has Anakin Skywalker on it when he's in the pod racer.
Yeah.
You know the one I'm talking about?
Because it was everywhere.
You know the one I'm talking about. And up until probably 5 or 6 years ago, I remember there being one here in town that I would drive by and see it.
It used to be at Mike's Market before they tore it down.
Yes.
It had the old school Cherry Coke logo still in it.
Yeah.
Nostalgia at its finest right there.
So how much of nostalgia do you think drives you? Like, would you say that you're a slave to nostalgia, or
it used to be?
Yeah.
Like I used to have like all the old WWF wrestlers, WCW. Like I needed them. Like Street Sharks, like anything from my childhood. But like the older I get, now that I have my own kids that like actually like going out and doing stuff with me, it's more focusing on like current products or stuff that they like.
Yeah. Yeah. So then that brings me to a really good point, actually. Like, I think that you will agree with me when I say this, and I think that this is something that a lot more collectors need to really look at. I got news for you. This is another life lesson with Uncle Dickie. You don't need any of this.
You don't
need it. So I don't think that you should let collectibles get in the way of your personal life. Like, that's when I think that you have a problem. To bring it back to what we were talking about at the top, there are so many people that
let the collection define who they are.
Yes. And I've always been the type of guy, boy, you put it so much better than I could. I've always been the type of guy that I don't want the things that I like to define me, and I don't want the things that I like to be my personality, if that makes sense. Because my personality is actually rather different, and it's like, but then again, I have a full sleeve on my arm of Pokemon, so that's naturally going to be the topic of conversation 9 times out of 10 is, hey man, I like your Pokemon sleeve. Oh, thank you. Let's now talk about Pokemon. By the way, I just want to throw this out there as a blanket statement. No, I shouldn't have gotten that Pokemon on my sleeve because I don't like that Pokemon. These are Pokemons that I like. Sorry, the plural for Pokemon is Pokemon. These are Pokemon that I like. I don't care which Pokemon you like. Quit telling me which Pokemon that I should have gotten tattooed on my sleeve. I'm tired of it. And that's
Where's your Pikachu, bro?
Dude, I can't. There have literally been so many people that have been like, you don't have Pikachu? You don't have Pikachu? And it's like, no.
You're not a Pokemon fan.
And then I look at him and I'm like, dude, I liked Pokemon before you, like when you were still shitting in your pants. Like, don't even come at me with this bullshit. Jump off your fucking battle bus and go get your season pass.
That's another thing with like collectors. Like, if you don't like the main majority item, like you get shit for it.
Yeah. Yeah. People don't seem to understand that there's like different varying degrees of fandom. I just want to throw this out there too as a blanket statement as well. I am just full of hot takes today. I don't like fandoms.
No.
Fandoms, 9 times out of 10, are fucking toxic.
Yeah.
And I don't like them. I don't like them. Just be a fan. It goes to the thing, you let it define you. It's like, don't get me wrong. There are people that can be a part of a fandom that are, I'm generalizing. I am very aware of that. But there are some people that allow their best example, Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
The worst fans.
Yeah, I don't know.
They're pretty bad.
Star Wars fans are pretty bad too.
Don't know that. Well, okay,
Yeah,
actually, yeah, I am going to agree with you on that one because Star Wars is a good one of where it's like, oh, you liked those? No, those are awful. I'm just going to make a general statement right now. I am a huge Star Wars fan. The prequels are my favorite trilogy. I don't give a fuck.
You know what? I've never seen any of the Star Wars movies. I think I've seen episode 1 when it first came out.
Yeah.
Bits and pieces.
Well,
of
you
it.
could see it just by going down the
I just want to throw
road.
this out there. You come up to me at a fucking convention or anything talking about Star Wars, I'm point blank telling you in your face why Jar Jar Binks is the motherfucking GOAT.
Well, yeah, but you're trolling at that point.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
You're just doing it to troll. Like, I made a comment at one point. I was like, your childhood is, or no. How was it I worded that? I was like, oh, a true sign of adulthood is admitting that the prequel trilogy is your favorite trilogy. But that's the thing with, you want to talk about going down slippery slopes. There are so many Star Wars figures that I really have to look at it and I have to be like, man, what do and don't I want to collect? Because, you know, they have those the retro figures. Or no, they're the vintage figures. The retro ones, I don't like the retro ones.
The black cards?
The black cards, yeah, with the, you know, the little what is it? 7 3/4. No, 3 3/4 figures.
Yeah.
There's the vintage ones that are like fully
the old Kenner knockoffs.
Articulated. No, the Kenner knockoffs are the retros that are built just like the old Kenner figures.
Oh, okay.
The vintage ones, that's where it gets so confusing because there's Black Series, there's retro, there's vintage, there's this, there's that. But I had to draw a line and I had to be like, I'm only doing the prequel movie figures. And then I will do the expanded universe figures, like the TV shows that started coming out. I won't do the original trilogy. I won't do the sequel trilogy. I won't do any of that.
See, like, my son Corbin, he collects Transformers, so I completely get it. Like, we have, like, over 82 Bumblebees from different brands, different categories, and I'm like, it's the same damn car. No, Dad, this part moves different. Like,
but he gets it.
He gets it, but I don't.
Yeah.
Just like, I can't compare with you on the Star Wars crap because I'll never buy a Star Wars figure.
Yeah, I'm just complaining about just a little. So, like, if you wanted to complain about something that, that I won't understand, I would be completely for it. But I'm just saying, like, you have to know. I think the one thing to take away from this entire conversation here is that you gotta know when to draw the line, and don't let it be an all-encompassing thing.
My favorite thing is seeing these guys go out and spend all their paychecks the first day they get it on collectibles.
Yeah.
And then going out and bitching for the next week and a half about how they have no money.
See a lot of that.
Like, I'm a firm believer in you pay for your bills first, and then what's left is what you get to play with.
No, I agree with you. And I don't understand why that is such a hard concept for some people. Is to just, and that's where we're talking about where we were like, oh, it can, you know, you got to take responsibility for it and everything. That is the ultimate responsibility right there, is that it's like, but that's where, again, it's like that drug.
Yeah.
Of,
gotta have it right then and there.
Yeah.
But I mean, is there shit like that I see in the store that I'm like, oh man, I really wish I had the money for this? Sometimes, but at the same time, my rent's paid, my bills are paid, I got food in my kitchen, my kids are taken care of.
No, I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I think that that's an aspect of it that not a lot of people look at. And boy, Jesus Christ, should they really take that into consideration? Because, guys, you know, I'm going to tell you, so, you know, we're sponsored by Sewer Layer Toys, and I've had plenty of these conversations with Scott, one of the owners. And I got news for you. It's just plastic.
It's just plastic.
It's just plastic. No, in the grand scheme of things, this shit's not important.
It's all plastic and paper.
It's all plastic and paper.
It's going to mean nothing when you die. You ain't taking it with you.
No, you're not. You know, and you're not putting your kids through college with these things. You're not, because guess what? The good example is these Star Wars Episode 1 figures. They were mass produced.
Everyone bought them.
They're worth literally nothing because there's so many of them left. There are very few things, unless you're dropping like $2,000 on a 1-of-1 figure or something, it's not going to really increase in value and here's a good example. We talk about, I collect the graded slabs. And I sent Madrox one that I was going to buy. And I was like, ooh, should I go for the higher grade and pay a little bit more money? Or should I go for the lower grade and pay a little less money? And you explained it to me like this. It's going on your wall one way or the other. You're not selling it. If you're selling it, then go for the higher grade. But if you're just putting it on your wall, then I would go for the lower grade. So then what did Dickie do? He went for the higher grade because the eBay seller offered him a very good price.
But nonetheless, like at the same time, you could have saved $40 going by the lower grade and had the same book, same plastic. The only difference is the giant number in the top left-hand corner.
That's all it is. And how funny was it? Because you were with me when I bought my first slab, and I was like, I'm not doing anything less than a 9.8.
Exactly.
On my wall right now, we have we have two 9.4s, two 9.8s. I think I have a 9.2 somewhere. That shit'll buff out. It's know your worth. Really, is what we're trying to get at here.
Just have fun.
Just have fun with it.
Have fun and be responsible.
Have fun.
Collecting is a lot like gambling.
Yeah.
That sums it up right there.
That addictive personality. I think that's probably the important thing to really talk about there is that it's like, I know someone who has a very well-paying job and he provides for his friends. To bring it back to what we were talking about earlier, he provides for his friends. And I tell him, I'm like, man, you don't have to do this. And he's like, well, what would you rather me do with this money? Go out and spend it on booze and drugs and stuff? And I'm like, okay, valid point. But it goes back to that. He knows he lives within his means and he knows that he can afford to do that. People, if you cannot afford to collect toys, do not collect toys. They are plastic. They are not worth ruining your life over. Well, I think that's going to do it for this one. This was a good little conversation we had here.
A great little conversation we had here.
Yeah, we're we said that we're a wrestling podcast, not about wrestling, and I
think we proved that.
We proved that today. Guys, listen, we're on episode number 2 of this. I'm already having a blast. I know Madrox is too. I can just tell by looking at him. We're both loving this. If you haven't already, head on over to the Facebook and give us a like. Facebook.com/MadBash Studios. Go ahead and follow the Twitter at MadBash Studios. If you want to give me a follow, I am on Twitter at AttaboyDickie. I'm the same on Instagram at AttaboyDickie. Madrox has established that he is not on social media, so don't worry about him.
I'm on social media, but I don't use it. But if you want to give the follows, it's at Madrox_BSB on everything.
On everything. As of right now, as of the recording of this for us, we only have the Facebook and the Twitter. Hopefully down the road, we'll have some other social platforms for you. Another thing to leave you here with, guys, please, if you would be so inclined to do so, please, on your favorite podcasting platform, leave us a good review. Give us a recommendation to someone that you think would really enjoy this. But most importantly, give that 5-star review. Let's play the algorithm here, guys. Let's be perfectly honest about what we're doing. Let's play the algorithm. Let's get us some likes. Let's get us some attention here. We're growing this with you guys, I think, is the important thing to remember here. So, for Michael Madrox, I've been Dickie Wabash, and we'll see you guys in a couple of weeks.
Bye, guys.